Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Paul of Spheric Reptiles. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know you saw the title, so you know what I'm talking about, old versus new. But in particular, this magazine right here is what set it off for me. This 1996 Reptiles Annual. It pretty much discussed all of the popular pets way back then in 1996. I mean, I'm just old, man. I mean, there ain't no other way to say it. The brother's old. So, but in this magazine, it showed all these different types of animals. So you had the popular animals at the time were the iguana. You had boas and pythons, of course. You had turtles. You had frogs. You had all of these other animals, like you had milk snakes, king snakes, but those were the popular animals. Anoles were popular back then. There was nowhere near the amount of diversity in reptiles that we have now due to captive breeding that we had back then. We just didn't have it. I mean, it was still brand new, and it was still taboo to have a reptile, like it was taboo to really have a tattoo that was visual. So this annual was so awesome in the fact that it helped pave the way for me starting off, I think around my sophomore year, I got a job at Petco, and I was the small animal specialist at first, and then someone quit from the reptile area, and they were like, hey, who can deal with reptiles? Well, I grew up going to creeks catching snakes anyway, so I was like, hey, I'll do it. Does it give me some more money? And we're like, yeah, you'll get a little bit more. I mean, back then it was like maybe 15 cents more. It's a joke, right? But anyway, I got to work with reptiles every day, so those initial fears that I had, I got to go over it. And so this is the old school way. Now, there's no way that they would hire someone to be the quote-unquote reptile specialist. Well, yeah, they would. They still do it at Petco, PetSmart, and Pet Supplies Plus. I mean, but if you go to a specialty reptile store, and no knock on them, the major chain stores, because they do carry some great products. I just wish they would increase their knowledge. But anyway, I gained that knowledge, and the number one thing I saw was that people, they were buying these snakes that would be huge, like reticulated pythons and Burmese pythons, and they had an infant with them. So I would try to discourage that, because with a little bit of research, like I said, I always do research, I've quickly found out that these snakes in particular can get up to 6 feet, 8 feet within 1 or 2 years. So maybe sometimes more than that, depending on how you feed them. And with an infant, I'm just thinking, well, you don't have the time to socialize it, and you got to raise your kid. I mean, those are two things that are definites. Now, if you can make the time to socialize your snake and raise your kid, you're probably going to have a great pet. But a lot of the time, 6 months later, 8 months later, people will come back, and now they say, man, I got this snake. Every time I reach my hand in there, it tries to bite me. Now, I didn't understand a feeding response or anything, because that wasn't discussed in this magazine. It was discussing the basic care and husbandry, but this was like the Bible back then. So they would return the snake with everything, and I would take it. I would end up putting an ad up on a bulletin board at school, and I'd flip the snakes. And so in a sense, that's how I started selling snakes, and I started really looking into the husbandry, because the people that were buying the snakes were also college students, and I didn't want them to get and say, oh man, that Paul, he ain't worth shit. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So, and then they knew I was a science major, so it was like, well, he better know. He should know. I mean, but really, they don't. It's just textbook stuff that you're learning, right? But I also went to the snake farm, and at the snake farm, I got to meet and see reticulated pythons that were like 18 feet long. I got to see Burmese pythons that were around 15, 16 feet. Cobras, they had coral snakes, they had milk snakes, they had boa constrictors, they had a rattlesnake pit back then. I mean, it was like the wild, wild west for anything reptile that you wanted. So, and I came to Dallas one day for summer. I always would go home for summer. And I went to a reptile expo in Arlington. And there I met Bob Clark. Now, I've been getting this price list for a while. And I got some price lists from Brian Barczyk, too, because there was just anything and everything that I could get to see. Because remember, we only had AOL, and it was dial-up back then. There wasn't anything on reptiles on the internet. So, lo and behold, I met him, and he transferred his love to me. And just that one occasion, I got to see someone's genuine enthusiasm about traveling the world, finding snakes, bringing them back, and selectively breeding them to produce a desired pattern. And that was just freaking amazing, man. I mean, it was amazing. It was really amazing. But, so a lot of things have changed over the times. You know, of course I've gotten old. I got this gray in my beard and shit. You know, I can't shake it. I can't just from either. I can shave it off and it grows back even thicker. So, but one of the things we can do is I can show you the way that the setups were back then. So just give me a second and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So guys, this was a traditional setup that was from 1996 for almost, I'm gonna say 75% of all reptile owners. They would have them like a 20-gallon aquarium. They'd have some sort of water dish, which is a bowl that they got out of their kitchen. They'd have a hide that they would just cut holes in. They even had a normal looking ball python, even though this one's head clown and head pied, but it still has a normal appearance, so that's why I'm using her. And the biggest thing that we had still was we had the thermostats, even though this is not the same one that we had back then, and a heat lamp with a ceramic heating bulb in it. The way that I had my setup when I was in school and in my mid-20s and 30s was I would have my heat lamp over here with the thermostat in the back, and then I would have on the cool side, I would have the hygrometer and the thermostat over there to measure humidity and temperature. But hey guys, this was the way that it was done. I mean, you would go there and you get a screen lid, you get a glass aquarium, you put down some sort of carpeting, a hide, a bowl, and a heat lamp, and that was it. And people actually play with their snakes all the time. And I don't remember any snake that I ever had not eating because I held them. That's the old school way. And now what I like to do is show you the new school way. All right, guys, so now that we've discussed the old way of keeping our reptiles, I want to just use this cage to discuss the new ways of keeping a reptile. And I think this is one of the greatest things about information and studying where the animals have their natural habitat. And it's just a lot more information, you know, so now we don't use Reptiles magazine anymore, but we actually use the internet, and there's a lot of different breeders and proof sources. It's just freaking amazing. But anyway, this is a 4x2x2 enclosure. We got it from Dubia.com. It's a reptile habitats. We got this tape on here because at first he was window surfing before we made it bioactive, but now it's not. So I'm gonna take a closer look inside. And as you see, this is who we call Fred. His real name is F you Fred or Fuck you Fred. It's just a joke, but the name got with him and it kind of stuck. So that's Fred. Say hello, Fred. Still not talking. Still giving me the stink eye. Boy, I tell you what, you're a trip. You're a trip for real. You're getting all black and everything. That's crazy. But anyway, guys, one of the main things that I think came about with, you know, more information was trying to make something as naturalistic as we could. So we still have the same things in here. Like there is a heat lamp up there, and it's controlled by this thermostat, which is external. And we have the temperature set for 100 degrees at this basking site there. Another thing that we chose to do is we went with the ghost wood because it would be a smoother climbing surface. We didn't want anything that would have a chance to poke our animal. I think that's one of the major things that when you're considering wood is you don't want anything to poke you. Fred, say, I don't want to get poked. Still nothing. And so you can see the cork bark. You can see as I go through here, he has a hiding space in the back, and this is all made by foam, and then we use grout sealant to cover it and add color and painted it, and so it turned out really nice. Let's see, moving right along over here, you want to have a hide with your reptiles, one on the hot side and one on the cool side, just because you just never know what they want. So this is our hot side, the other side over there. Let me see if I can get to the back way. That back there is the cool side, and you can see the substrate that we have here. We got substrate on here, and you know, we got some plants. We got some cilantro and some thyme. We got these magnolia leaves. You can actually get these from your yard if you have them, and then you can sanitize them yourself. You can either bake them lightly, or you can soak them in like a bleach solution and then just re-soak them in water. That's one of the older ways of cleaning things, is just soaking in bleach. And then what we also have is his feeding dish, and we chose to elevate it on this platform so that we could get to it. And to make it more bioactive, what we've done is we've made hiding areas for insects so that are cool and that'll stay moist. And so, you know, that's just one of the things that you can do with your new enclosures. You like new, don't you? Still nothing. So, you know, I think one of the major things that has came about, which is not this UVB bulb. UVB has been around for a while, but what we did is we chose to go diagonally all the way across. So that's a 4-foot diagonal UVB bulb, but it wouldn't fit into this enclosure that way because, you know, of course, the enclosure is 4 foot too. So 4 foot and 4 foot, you know, something would have to give. So we just chose to mount it diagonally with the ties at the top. So hopefully this will allow Fred to have a really good life. Say hello, Fred, one time for me. But anyway, hey guys, I hope that you get to see the old versus the new. And, you know, Fred is on a diet now. Since he's an adult, we just feed him the greens now. He gets greens 3 times a week, and he gets mealworms or waxworms or butterworms or dubia roaches. It's whatever he wants. He gets that about once a week. So we try to gut load him on that and then give him vegetation for the rest. Let's see if I can show Fred eating out of my hand. Looks like he's pretty hungry. So, hey, Fred, did you like that? Still nothing. Well, guys, I hope that this was something that was useful for you. And if nothing else, I hope it was comical and that you learned, you know, how we used to do things back in the day. Definitely the modern way of doing it, or the way that we do it now, is a lot better. So, you know, what I encourage is for you to comment. Please let me know what you think. But if nothing else, hey guys, enjoy your reptiles because they're part of your life. And like and subscribe to this video if you could. If you like this type of content, please let us know. Until next time, guys, I'll talk to you later.